Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of Art Club. So, thank you guys for always watching the videos and trying them out. This week, we're gonna be talking about creating book covers. So, as artists, you get hired to create book covers sometimes. Most of the time, it is graphic design work, but we're gonna draw it and we're gonna look for a title or create our own story if we want to, or even use the story that we use for the storyboarding and look at those stories, look at those titles, and we're gonna create art. We're gonna create a book cover based on those stories. So, as I said, most artists are graphic design artists, and those artists are usually the ones that are paid to create art. So, to create book cover art. So, if you think that's something you want to do when you get older, creating graphic design work, or even creating illustrations, creating animations, this is a good exercise for you to do. So, as a graphic designer, sometimes you or illustrator, sometimes you have to draw things and then put it towards the computer, and they basically manipulate it or add color to actually create a book cover. You've seen a book cover before. So, for example, a book cover about a cartoon, most of the times these are drawn first, drawn in pencil and paper, like what we do in class, and then you put it on the computer to add color, and then it becomes an actual book cover. So this activity that we're gonna do is actually gonna be super fun because you're basically gonna be practicing on how to create art based on a title, how to create art based on a book, but also just creating art in a fun way, as if somebody told you, hey, I want you to create art for my book cover. And now you're gonna get to be creative and think, what if you're in that situation that somebody did say, I want you to create art for my book cover? So this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna show you guys some examples just so you can basically understand the concept. Okay, so stay tuned. This is a good example of doing art for a book cover. So this book is called The Boy with the Tiger's Heart. So this is digital art, and this was probably also created with graphic design. But even as a digital artist, you can create drawings and then add color using the computer. So let's talk about what's going on in this book cover. So the title is The Boy with the Tiger's Heart. So the whole idea of this book cover was, how can they incorporate whatever the story is about to make it into art? So based on the book cover and based on the title, it has something to do with a boy and it has something to do with a tiger. It can have deeper meaning he's strong as a tiger, or there can actually be a tiger in the story, whatever. But when we think about, if we're looking at the title and we're thinking about how the book cover looks, this is a great example. So as you can see, the book cover, the first part is that there's a huge tiger outline. So the background is black, and then you realize there's a tiger outline in orange. So the tiger outline, you can see that it has an eye, a nose, and a mouth. So they did a really good job at creating this book cover and including all parts and different designs that would be in the book. So let's say, for example, this story is based in a forest or somewhere with trees or somewhere where a tiger may be, or just a regular story, but they're emphasizing the life of a tiger, where a tiger would live. So when you look at this outprint, they did a great job with making the tree and the moon and everything else look like an actual tiger body or actual tiger features. So the first thing that stands out, as I said before, is the fact that there's a huge tiger there. So if you realize right where the tree is, there is a glaring dot, and that dot would kind of represent the moon, and that dot also is the eye. So if you look closely, there's a white glow. On the book cover, there's a white glow right where the eye is supposed to be. So if we're not looking and we're not looking at the fact that this is a tiger, it just looks normal, right? This could just be a tree, and this could just be outside, this could just be the moon. But the thing about this art piece, what it's showing is that they made it be a moon, but they also made it be the eye of the tiger. So that was a very clever way to create this artwork, to also make it look like it's outside, make it look like a forest, but also giving it the features of a tiger. So connecting from the moon, so if you look closely at the outline, just being sure that you see where the moon is the eye. So what's connecting from the moon is a tree branch. It's a tree branch, and it has smaller branches attached. So that branch kind of connects and goes down and makes a line for the mouth. So the end of that branch kind of makes a turn, and that turn represents the mouth of the tiger. And then you have the top where the ear would be, the ear of the tiger. It's also outlined with a tree. So the ear of the tiger, the black part of the ear, is the outline of maybe leaves, a tree branch, something similar, something artistic. So they also included clouds within the tiger figure. So the clouds are it's probably indicating that this is a dream, or the scenario is something like a dream. So you have the clouds, and then you have a bear. And the bear is probably a character that's in the book, or they just added the bear to emphasize that maybe the story is going to be outside. Maybe the story is even that the boy and his friends were in a forest, and they came across a bear, and they had to have as much strength as a tiger would be. So, they say he has a tiger's heart. So you see the bear in print. If you realize, the bear is right where the mouth would be. So remember how I said the lining of the lining of the tree at the bottom, the branch of the tree at the bottom would represent the tiger's mouth, the line that separates the top lip from the bottom lip. Right there, there's a drawing of a bear. So that's a good way that the artist used to incorporate the different characters. So you have what did we say? You have the branch and the leaves representing the inner part of the air, to show that it's the air. The moon, the bright light, to show that that's the eye. And then you have the branches connecting to show that there's a nose. If you look at the branch connecting from the eye to where the nose area would be, there's a little circular part attached to the branch that represents the nostril of the tiger, to kind of emphasize and show that this is a tiger's body, that this is a tiger's features, that this is a nostril. So now you have the bear in orange, and then the bear is kind of walking up a tree, but it's also walking up on where the chin of the tiger would be. So as you can see in this art piece, the artist really thought about how they could incorporate this and make it look as closely as possible to what the book is about. So the bear is kind of crawling up right where the chin of the tiger would be, and then if you realize the end of the chin to show where the neck of the tiger starts, there is kind of like a little hill, a little steep, of where the boy and his two friends are sitting. So the bear is coming close to them. So this book could also be that the bear is friendly to them. So you see the shadow. So these are created using silhouettes. So you see the shadow of the girl, the shadow of the boy, and the shadow of the friend. So they're all sitting at the edge of this mountain or the edge of this cliff, and they're just looking over. So this book could be somehow about something magical, something dreamy, something majestic, because if you realize there's a moon, there are clouds, they're sitting on a cliff and they don't look scared. It seems that they're purposely sitting on the cliff, they're enjoying the view, and they're looking over and they're closely to the clouds. So then what we also realize are the colors that the artist chose to use in this piece. So they used a warm color. So even though there are clouds, to me personally, this kind of indicates that this is the night, that this is nighttime. But even though they used warm colors and not cool colors like blue or dark blue to indicate that it's night, it kind of does give that warm feeling, something similar to the title, The Boy with the Tiger's Heart. So, and you know, a tiger's heart technically means brave, strength, fiery. So that's one thing to think of when you're creating a book cover. When you think of the title, when you think of the message, what do you think of? So to have a tiger's heart means that you're very brave, you're very courageous, you're very fiery. So warm colors would be appropriate. So assuming that that's what the message they were going with, the artist probably said, okay, let's use warm colors. So if you realize at the top, it kind of goes from dark orange to closer to a little yellow orange, and then maybe at the end it's kind of like a little more yellowy color, a little more yellow mixed with orange. So they stuck with the theme. So the theme was that the background is just black, the branches just black, and then the greatest part, the emphasis is the boy with the tiger's heart. So the emphasis was the tiger. So this was a great way that the artist tried to emphasize what the story is about, because they made the background black to really focus on the fact that this is about the tiger, or that this is about a boy with the tiger's heart. So had they made the background orange and made the tiger black, it kind of wouldn't have gone well. But the artist was thinking, and these are the things you have to think about when you're making a book cover. So the artist was thinking, how can I send this message across? How can I send this message of what the title means, of what the book means? So the best thing to do was to add this orange and this yellow and this fiery colors and add it towards a tiger. So this is a great book example when creating a book cover. It's something great to look towards. So this example in particular, you can always look back whenever you're trying to create a book cover, because not only is it geared towards the title, but it's also very artistic to create a tiger's face and a tiger's outline using clouds and trees in the background, and including things like the bear and also the characters of the story. So another option would be the smallest thing. So this book could also be about something of probably a scientist, or probably the world is ending, and you know, it's the smallest thing, the smallest cure that's gonna save everyone. So that's the greatest thing about making fun book covers based off of a title or what the story is about, is because you can really come up with the greatest ideas, and you can really pick and choose what you want to go with in a story. So let's examine this book cover. The first thing we notice is that the picture is in black and white. And because it's in black and white, we're probably thinking, oh, this might be, it might actually be like a scientific book, or even though it's fiction, it has something to do with something scary, something dark. And dark and scary doesn't technically have to mean a scary story, but it can mean it's not a comical book, or it's not a book to necessarily make you laugh. So the smallest thing, he has a mask on, he could be a scientist, he could also be running away from like a gas explosion, but we realize he also has a nice shirt and a tie on. So this kind of indicates that this probably is something having to do with a cure, and you have to wear your mask and you're being safe. So this is very, so this is something that you can probably like do when you're thinking. You can create a book cover based on the times that we are going through now, because this is very similar. So let's talk about the top of the character's head. So the top of the head would kind of be, the top of the head basically looks like those are tree branches. And it looks like birds are flying away. So these tree branches on top of his head, they look like it looked like it's in a forest and something happened. So maybe a gas explosion, maybe the world is coming to an end, because we realize that the birds are flying away. So this is also a great example to use when you're creating art, because the birds are flying away, but yet he has a gas mask on. So it's kind of like when you look at a certain art piece, you don't necessarily know what's going on. Like, what is the artist thinking? Like, what was their motive for this art piece? What was the motive for this story? So this is a great example to use. And also feel free to draw real life body figures like what you see here. Again, this could be a sketch, but this could also be digital art, and this could also be a photo that was probably manipulated. But have fun with it. So, the smallest thing can mean many different things. And that's the thing with art, is that you can see the word the smallest thing. You can read even a page from the book, and you can just create art with it. So whenever you're thinking of creating art based on a specific title or paragraph, just think about that you can have full free range to create art based on what you think. So let's discuss the concept and the genius idea that they did use a human figure to create art of a forest and create art of outside. So if you look at his shirt, the outlining kind of is either showing that he's deteriorating, that he's disappearing, or the outlining is showing that the white parts where his shirt is also the outlining of a forest. And the brilliant concept of using trees as his hair, exchanging his actual hair with trees, like forest trees. This was a brilliant idea. So whenever you're thinking of your ideas, this is something you can do. So it could be life imitating art. So take something that is real, like his hair, and then just turn it into trees. And then you can just, how to make it look real, they included birds flying away. So that was a great idea, because birds usually fly from a forest or whatever. So for example, like when you look at the forest, let's say you're not very good at drawing a forest, and you look and you're like, I drew this and I wanted it to look like a forest instead of hair, but it still kind of looks like hair. Once you draw something like these birds flying away from the actual hair, it kind of does indicate that, like, okay, this is a forest, the birds are flying away from it. And then you add something that brings like a wow factor to it. So the fact that they added the mask, now I'm intrigued. Now I want to know what this book is about. Now they added a mask. What can this book be about? It's going to be interesting because there's a mask. And so that's the important part when you're creating book covers, is that you're trying to draw the audience to actually open the book and look at it. Of course, the title is good. Of course, whatever was said about the book, the introduction page of the book telling what the book is about, that's all good. But the best part and the fun part is always looking at the artwork, because the minute you see the artwork, you're like, wow, I want to read this book. Just like books we used to read when we were younger, or books that you even read now with cartoons and pictures on them, it makes you want to open it up. So whenever you're drawing your artwork, or whenever you're doing your artwork, think of that. Think of, what can I do to make someone walk in a bookstore and take up a book that my art is on top of. So that's what you should do. I will continue this information about book covers and how to create book covers and ideas in a different video. Thank you for continuously watching Art Club videos, and you will see more in the next video.